Hi, I'm Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and N-Scale, and welcome to episode 11. This episode we're going to be installing our Digitrax DCC system into the electrical cabinet. We're going to be hooking it up and we're going to start testing. So, let's get to work.
Starting out with a piece of homicide that I spray painted black, I put the hinge on the bottom. I then laid out the positioning of the meters and then cut the holes. Here I am installing the meters using machine screws, washers, and nuts. Make sure that you position the washers on the PC boards as not to contact any electrical components so you don't create a short. Don't over tighten the hardware because you may break the PC board. Here I am test fitting the label plates. Now I'm installing the panel in the slide out drawer. Now I attach blocks of 2x2 to the edges and secure them with angle brackets. This is to support the panel. Now I drill a hole into the support post and install a T-nut using a C-clamp. Now I use a thumb screw to secure the panel in the up position into the T-nut. Now I do the same thing for the other side. I now lay out all the components for the DCC system in the drawer in the way I want them. I secure everything down with Velcro so it doesn't slide around. Here I'm using Velcro stripping that does not have adhesive back and screwing it down to the board. This way I can hold the components more securely. I now wire the DCC system to the railroad amp meters as per the instructions provided by Tony's Train Supply. I'm using solderless connectors to connect everything. Take the time to wire everything neatly and use zip ties and cable clamps. This way it'll keep the drawer neat and it'll be easier for troubleshooting procedures. I now connect the command station to the booster using a LocoNet cable. I now power up the system and use the LT1 tester to check my cable. I now reinstall the drawer and connect the system to the layout. Last step is to install the label plates.
Okay, so it's been a couple nights now and I got the DCC system all set up and it's running to a limited capability because we don't really have much track running. So now I'm going to take and walk you through the system and show you how it's set up. Okay, so this is how the drawer was ultimately set up. This is the Digitrax Super Chief Extra. It's the DCS 100. This will be the command station, and then this over here is the booster, the DB150. What I have installed here is I've installed a LocoNet cable, and this will go off to the booster for the staging yard. And this is the drops that go to the track power for the district on the command station. The booster is not yet hooked up, so that's these two terminals that would be in this port here, and that's for a later date. So what I've done right now is what I have set up of the return loop is linked to the command station, and when we start laying the track on the main line, we'll hook that into the booster. So what I made sure I've done with the drawer is I've made sure that everything's all fastened down with Velcro. So this way when you're opening the drawer, nothing goes flying around. The other thing I made sure is that these cables are loose and free to move, so when the drawer opens and closes, the wires don't get tight and yanked. The other thing is these wires that run off in the back are going to be tied up in the back so that they don't droop down to the power drawer on the below this. So this LocoNet cable over here, that runs out the back, and then I just got a temporary setup over here for my panel to plug in my throttles. That's also the infrared and wireless Digitrax panel. So also when I laid out the drawer, I made sure, you know, I left enough space here that for in the future when if I need to add other boosters, because I will be adding another booster to run the Browns yard up top here. And in the future, if I do determine that I need another booster, there's still room in that slot to put one more. So why don't I go ahead and take and walk you through how I started it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit our terminal bar in the back, power that up. It chirps. Command station's getting power. Now I keep it in a sleep mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this panel here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've turned on the terminal strip, so now we got power. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this switch and we're going to put it. I have it now in sleep mode, and then I'm just going to take it over to run. It's going to chirp. It's configured, and we both have a red and flashing green that indicates that the system's ready. So now I'm going to grab my throttle over here. I hit power. Turn track power on, and you look now that our track status light is now on. Okay. So now I'll flip this panel up so you can see the front. Okay, so these are the railroad amp meters from Tony's Train Supply. Also his other component, American Hobbies. And what we're reading right now is we're at 11.7 volts on the one power district that's off the command station, and the booster is running at 12 volts right now. And also we're drawing 0.02 amps on the one district, and the one with the booster is running at 0.01 amps. Now if you notice right now, the red LED on their label is AC power, and the green LED is DCC. Now if you notice, both of these meters are not reading correctly. I'm currently in contact with Tony's Trains and the engineer, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. They don't know if Digitrax changed something on their frequency wave that may be throwing off the meter, or if it's something new with the new Super Chief Extra. So I'm still starting an email chain right now. I've been in contact with them on phone a couple times, and when I get more information, I'll make sure I send it out to you guys. But from what I can tell right now, everything's running normally. You know, I'm getting my voltage readings are proper, and my amps, they're running too. So more to come on that. So one other thing I want to show you here is on this booster here is this white loop of wire here. That's a jumper. So the night I was setting the system up, the booster and the command station were fighting back and forth. I couldn't figure out why. So broke out the manual and went over the procedure for hooking it up, and lo and behold, I had skipped a step, and that jumper wire is crucial. And what you're doing is you're jumping from configuration A over to ground, and that's telling the booster that, hey, you're not a command station, you have to take commands from somebody else. So that's what that loop does. And ever since I put that in, I've had no problems. I've been testing trains back and forth over the last couple nights, and everything's running good. So a couple little hiccups, you know, with the meters and not setting it up properly, but I think everything's going to be turning out all right. So okay, so one thing I want to show you here is how I set up my track bus. So I kept with the white and blue because it's consistent all the way around. Blue, I kept connecting blue to the B rail on the Digitrax system. It's A rail or B rail. So I kept blue with B. I used little cup hooks along here just to string it up. And then if you look over here, I use suitcase connectors to connect the drops up to the rails. And then the feeders are just soldered right to the rail. Okay, so the other thing I got done over the last couple nights is I got the staging yard all wired up. So the feeders, they're tied into a track bus underneath. Then the track bus, it runs over to a booster in here. Now, let me show you what I did with the booster in here. Okay, so this is what I did for the booster here, for the staging yard. I took my old Zephyr and turned it into a booster. So if you look in the manual, it tells you how to do that. I'll walk you through it real quick just so you know. What you're first going to do is you're going to hit your program button, and then you're going to go to the switch mode. The little dot will be flashing up the top. When you first do it, this will be a number 1. What you're going to do is you're going to use your C- button, change that to 1, and then it'll scroll, and then you hit escape. And then when you do, or I'm sorry, not escape, exit. And then when you hit your exit button, it'll flash BR for booster. and that means that it's in booster mode. So now I took my Zephyr that I wasn't using anymore and turned it into a booster, so I don't have to pay money to go get a new DB150. All right, so now we're ready to power it up and test some locomotives and see if everything's running right. So I'm going to take my Kato P42, and it's got the MRC soundboard installed, and I'll just go ahead and start that up. Headlights on. That's always a good indication that the system's running. Yep. Test the horn. And we'll move it. So that's good. So it's running. I'm even getting reception on my wireless all the way out here in the staging yard, even though we're through the wall. So I'll shut that down. So system's actually coming together the way I designed it. So that's good. All right. Okay, so there you have it. We got our DCC system all set up. We tested it. It's working good. Now it's not complete. There's still a lot more work we have to do. For instance, I still have to hook up the Digitrax PR3, which is the computer interface. Then we have to start programming our JMRI software so we can have our roster and adjust all of our locomotives. We also still have to install the auto reverser, and we also have to expand our LocoNet and put in more throttle panels around the layout. So I've had a lot of experience with the Digitrax system over the last 10 years. With Jersey Central Intrack, we use Digitrax. However, I'm setting it up in my home layout. I'm doing a multiple power district layout. So it is a little more complicated. So I can't stress enough. Make sure you're reading your manuals and make sure you're taking your time to hook it up right. Missteps only make rework. And as you can see, it can frustrate you, it can slow you down, and you can also damage equipment. We have a lot of money tied into this DCC system, and to blow it up because I didn't hook up something properly would be just devastating. All right, so one more closing thing about DCC. Right after I finished filming that segment, I was in contact with Tony's Train Exchange. Big shout out to them. Their customer service is phenomenal. I spoke to someone on the phone, and that gentleman was very knowledgeable, but he didn't have the answers I needed. So he put me in contact via email with the person who designed the system for the railroad meters. And we corresponded via email. We were able to figure out that my DCC system had gotten switched into analog. So the way to solve the problem was to go to option switch 20 and switch it to closed. And if you look in your Digitrax manuals for the Super Chief, it'll tell you how to change from analog to digital mode. So that's why the railroad amp meters weren't interpreting as a DCC signal, and they were interpreting as an AC signal. So just to let you know, I did resolve that issue, and now the LEDs on the meters are working properly. So in the segment, you also see that I was using this tool here. This is from Digitrax. It's the LNC 501. And what that is, that's the wiring kit for the LocoNet. So they give you approximately 50 foot of LocoNet cable. They give you 20 RJ12 connectors, and they give you this tool. This tool is a 3-in-1. It's a cutter, stripper, and the crimper for the RJ12 connectors. So very handy if you're going to be setting up a large layout with Digitrax and you're going to be having a large LocoNet system. This way you don't have to keep buying the pre-made cables because they get pricey, especially when you need a bunch of them. And also for that, you could see in the cabinet, I only needed like a 1 foot little section. So very handy for Digitrax users. Go look at it. I think it was $34.99 on one of the websites. I can't even remember who I bought it from. So I hope everybody enjoyed the dual release for November. And I thank you all for following along, and I welcome our new subscribers. I hope you guys picked up some tips, and next episode, episode 12, we're going to be working on the ATX power supplies so that we can power up our Tortoise switch machines, and we can get working on the control panel for the staging yard. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.